Hey, guys and gals, and welcome to yet another Terror Time Tea. This time I am not live. This is pre recorded on a Saturday afternoon because I had meant to pre record this and do this yesterday. However, as many of you know, especially those of you that may be in IT positions, and hold on just a second, I want everybody to be able to see a Hellfire Club light, and Steve's microphone was in the way. So Steve did get me this light, and I know my head is taking over part of it, but hopefully you can see. There we go. Hopefully you can see the Hellfire Club and it lighting up back there. Steve got me this little lamp. It's one of those like 3D type of dealies. But anyway, I kept forgetting to turn it on, and I was like, dang it, I've got this new lamp. I should use it because that's what Steve was thinking. I would use it for my streams. Okay. So anyway, anybody that's in IT, or maybe you're not in IT, maybe you tried to go to the bank yesterday. Maybe you tried to check your bank account. Maybe you were trying to get on a flight. Maybe you were at the doctor's office or a store or whatever. Evidently, there was a big deal with an update from CrowdStrike, which is a antivirus security company. Evidently, they pushed through a patch Thursday evening, I'm guessing, or in the early morning hours of Friday. And it caused a bunch of computers to crash and blue screen. And unfortunately, at my company, we use CrowdStrike. So we walked right into a hornet's nest. Whereas usually Fridays are pretty quiet, they're half days. Not yesterday. All of us were just working our tail ends off trying to get all the computers at different clinics up and running. And yeah, it was just hair raising. We had almost 500 calls on the help desk, um, and not all of them did we get to, but I think we made a good effort because over 200 of those calls we did answer. So with, I think that really showed how much we work as a team when we have to. I and others worked until almost 8 o'clock Eastern time last night, and I started at 7:30 a.m. So, needless to say, there was no Friday Foolish yesterday, and there was no Terror Time Tea, but I'm coming to you now, and I'm planning on me and Candace having not a Friday Foolish, but a Sunday Silly tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So, never fear, for those of you that may have noticed, we were not live yesterday afternoon. Never fear. I'm planning to rectify that, and we will be on tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, unless something happens. Um, got a couple of watch alongs also coming up this weekend. Tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time will be Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Be sure to tune in for that if you're at all interested. We're still celebrating the 40th anniversary of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Tomorrow's watch along, also starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, will be for Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange. So be sure to tune in for both of those if you can. And now, without further ado, I'm going to get to the movies, Night of the Creeps and the Unholy. But before I do, I just wanted to show off one of the new designs for the Scooby-Doo Horror Mashup shirts. They're available at deaditesondeck.com. You can pick your own up. I've got to put a bunch of new designs on there. This one actually has the navy blue background taking out of it so that the color of the shirt actually shows through. And I think it turned out pretty well. So anyway, and I also want to remind everybody about the Discord and the Patreon. So I'm going to put the link for both of these in there. Um, it is free to join the Discord. Doesn't cost you a dime. All you got to do. Oh, I forget. I forget when I'm pre-recording these things. I can't put them in the chat. So okay, I will save that for another time when we do a live. Perhaps when I do the watch along tonight or tomorrow when me and Candace do the Sunday Silly. But in addition to the Deadites on Deck shop at deaditesondeck.com, I do have a Discord that is free to join. The Patreon, which we have 3 tiers for the Patreon. The top tier is $25, and you get your choice of a free Deadites on Deck shirt, hat, or mouse pad. And it'll have, show you guys and gals, it will have a design similar to this, only it will say Deadites on Deck at the bottom of that image. Okay. So just wanted to talk about a few of those things before I got started with the reviews. And the tea that I'm having today is just some spearmint tea, not my terror time tea, just some already prepackaged spearmint tea. But it is very good though. I will say that. All right. So let's get to these movies. Now, the first movie is probably going to be pretty familiar to horror fans, and that's Night of the Creeps. I love this line here at the top of the box or the slipcover. The good news is your date is here. The bad news is he's dead. Actually, I think when Tom Atkins' character says it, he says, I got I got good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here. The bad news is they're dead. And they are indeed. Um, Tom Atkins has that line and the Thrill Me line, which is fantastic as well. And that's 2 things that people really remember from this movie, as well as Stephen Marshall when he gets taken over by these slithering little slugs that get inside your body and make you like this guy here. He leaves a recording for his friend Chris that says, I walked, Chris. I really walked. And it's so creepy sounding because his friend uh, is unable to walk without assistance. And when the little slug creatures get into him, he can walk. But he's not the same guy that his friend Chris remembers. And Chris is played by Jason Lively. Um, and we also have Jill Whitlow in this, Tom Atkins, as I said, Jason Lively, Steve Marshall. Um, It is written and directed and produced by Fred Decker. And I think of this as your typical like alien slash monster movie. So you've got an alien experiment that goes wrong. It crashes to Earth in 1959, which is when the movie is supposed to start, and infects a couple of young college students who are going parking. And one of those college students, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, is Tom Atkins' character. He grows up and becomes a detective. So 27 years later, uh, oh, no, he's not one of the college students. I think he's a cop back then, but he was a young cop. Sorry about that. But they cryogenically froze one of the college students. Why they'd want to do that, I don't know, but why ask why in a horror movie, right? It's horror movie logic. So it accidentally gets thawed out by a couple of fraternity pledges played by Jason Lively and Steve Marshall. Um, so, and the campus, because of this, gets quickly overrun by alien creatures whose victims turn into zombies. So this movie has got it all. It's got, aliens, you got these little slug things. Kind of looks like, sort of reminds me of Shivers, or they came from within the David Cronenberg film, the little slug things. That's what it reminds me of. Or the slugs from the movie Slugs that get inside people and bust out their heads during dinner and stuff like that. That's a great movie too, by the way. Um, so this is also considered a throwback chiller. It does mix all sorts of genres. You got sci-fi, you've got horror, you've got monster movies, um, just zombie movies in particular. I have a lot of fun with Night of the Creeps, and I think a lot of other people have over the years as well. This was one that I don't think I watched in the heyday of my video watching days, or my video rental days. I think it was later, but I was like, this was another one that I was like, how in the world did this slip under my radar? Because this movie is great. It's fun. It's got quotable lines in it. It's ghoulish. It's just gory enough. And it's got all the things that us horror fans love. Or I'm not trying to offend like new horror fans. I'm just saying old school horror fans, you're gonna find a lot to love with Night of the Creeps. And you got old suave Tom Atkins going around saying things like "thrill me," and they've even made shirts with that quote on them. So that's a quotable line, at least for horror fans, anyway. And just talking about this one again is making me want to go back and watch it again. There's a ton of movies, especially ones I've been talking about lately, that I'm like, gee, I need to go back and rewatch those because I remember having a lot of fun with them. So, Night of the Creeps, what rating am I going to give to Night of the Creeps? Well, considering how much I love it, I'm going to give Night of the Creeps 5 Deadites out of 5, just because this one has everything I love in it. There's nothing that I can think of that is a drawback on this movie. So if you've never seen Night of the Creeps, I mean, I'm not telling you to go out and buy it. Don't go out and buy it if you don't own it. Try to find it for a free version first, or borrow one from a friend or family member that has it. And then if you like it a lot, then you could consider buying it. But I just don't want anybody to just purely listen to me. And don't purely listen to me. Definitely go out and watch other reviews of Night of the Creeps. Go to YouTube and put Night of the Creeps movie review in and see what comes up, and hear from a wide variety of people. Don't just stick with what I say, because I'm not the be all end all on movie reviews. I just tell you what I think and I give my particular rating. But you might want to definitely go and take a look at other people's reviews on this. All right. So to get to the second one, this is one that I haven't rewatched in a little bit, but this is one of the Vestron video collector's editions, or collector series, the Unholy, starring Ben Cross. Um, if you are and I'm not saying anything bad about Catholics, I'm just saying if you're a starch, dyed in the wool Catholic, uh, you might not like to watch this one, because if I remember correctly, it's got some Catholic priests being seduced by a sexy, I guess you'd call it incubus. Um, it takes place in New Orleans. Uh, Two priests have been brutally murdered at St. Agnes Church, and Now the unholy reigns. Um, but it's going to be challenged by Father Michael, played by Ben Cross. He's believed to be spiritually blessed, and he's appointed to this St. Agnes Church. Is he really the chosen one, strong enough to fight such ravishing temptation and raw evil, or is he simply going to be the third to die? Some say Father Michael hasn't got a prayer. Ha ha, little joke there. Um, this one it's really dark. If I'm remembering correctly, really dark, really got those dark religious undertones to it. Um, and like I said, you've got this incubus or devil in disguise, whatever you want to call it, that is seducing these priests and sending them straight to their death and straight to hell, probably. Um, but I remember this one being pretty violent and fairly gory. And so, if you're into all that stuff and don't mind the religious undertones and the dark religious undertones, then I think you will enjoy it. Some people like religious horror films, a la The Exorcist and others, even, uh, Rosemary's Baby, stuff like that has some religious undertones to it. Um, I think that you will enjoy it. Um, and I remember really enjoying it. Again, I need to watch it again because I remember in my video rental days, I do remember the first time I watched it was I rented it, and I was like, wow, Of course, this was back in 1988, so if I rented it, I probably rented it 89 or 90, somewhere along there. Um, and I was probably 13, 14, 15, maybe, when I seen it for the first time. But I do remember liking it. And at that point in time, I was like, wow, like during that time period from like 12 to, I don't know, 15 or 16, that was like a prime time for me of watching a ton of horror films, some of which I had seen maybe on TV. This now I was getting to watch them, full fledged horror movies. I wasn't going to see many of them at the theater at that early point in time. But a little bit later, I would go with my Aunt Sandy and we would go to a lot of horror movies at the movie theater. Um, but when I was 12 or so, I'd say early on, I didn't see too many of any kind of film at the movie theater. So um, I do remember when I was a kid going to a few drive-in movies with my parents because, like I've said before, I remembered things like parts of Prom Night and Death Ship and stuff like that. And to me, those were cool memories. They might not be cool memories for every kid, especially if you were not somebody that enjoyed horror films. But I think my parents knew that I could handle it at that time. Because I don't think I ever showed any, I didn't have nightmares or anything. My mom did tell me that when I was really little, I was scared of Jaws, and that's one of my great shames because Jaws is one of my favorite movies now, and one that I share a love for along with my dad. Um, but um, I'm going to go ahead and give a rating. I'm going to give The Unholy 4 deadites out of 5. This one wasn't top layer, but it was just below that. Just a little bit below that. I like Night of the Creeps a little bit more. Night of the Creeps had a little more entertainment value than The Unholy, and that's probably what pushed it over into the 5. But okay, So I didn't intend to be on here very long, and it's just after 3. I've got to get some groceries ordered and delivered, and I didn't intend to be on here much over 20 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this here shortly. But if you get to watch this before the watch along, be sure to tune in for the watch along a little bit later for Wes Craven's New Nightmare in celebration of the 40th anniversary of A Nightmare on Elm Street, coming up at 7 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. Uh, Tomorrow, me and Candace should be doing a live for Sunday Silly. We're going to be talking about favorite horror masks and characters. So be sure to tune in to that tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And then there will be another watch along for Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange, also starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You don't want to miss these, folks. These are going to be fantastic watch alongs and a fantastic Sunday Silly coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. So I am off like a dirty shirt. But before I go, I want to remind everyone to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have an awesome rest of your Saturday, folks. And let's make Sunday fantastic as well. And I'll see everybody next time.